Well, hello, and good time zone, and what is up, gamers? Hi, everybody. Welcome in. It's lovely to see you all, and hello. Welcome. Hi, happy Monday. Hope you had great weekends, and all that jazz. Wonderful to be here, wonderful to see you, and welcome. Anywho, it sure is a Monday, isn't it? So I'm having an interesting Monday, and when I say I'm having an interesting Monday, I mean I have, it seems to be simmering down now, but who knows? I have a tremor in my left arm. So that's fun. Sound is a wee bit hollow. Is it quiet? Is it quiet, Samantha? Is it because some maniac moved my microphone? Is it because some incredibly lovely and kind and beautiful human being moved my dang microphone, and I'm used to being right here, and I'm not used to having to move it? That is entirely my bad for having a routine that was disrupted. Unbeknownst to me, because I would not have thought to look for my microphone because it's always right here. It might be that, says Samantha. I think it might be. I think it might have just a little to do with that, and I am so sorry. Oh, shoot. Hold up. Wait. Also, I just realized that my coffee's in the other room, so, BRB for just a second. Oh, good lord. Things are going great. I'll be back in just a second, at which point I have a very important announcement for stream, so, just bear with one moment. I have fetcheth my coffee. Hi. Hello, I'm back. And I do have a very, very important announcement. Please say goodbye to the technical difficulties music. And hello again to yours truly. Hi, hello. Hi, Samantha. Welcome in. Proper welcome in. Lovely to see you. How are you? And welcome. Now, today's announcement, which is some news that I have just learned and I would very much like to convey with the chat, is that it is friend of the channel Ernesto's birthday. Happy birthday, Ernesto! Massive birthday wishes to you. I hope you have a wonderful, lovely day. I hope whatever you get up to today is entirely fun and amazing. And I wish you all the very, very best on your very, very special day. And I hope your special day is special beyond your wildest dreams. So, yeah, happy birthday! That's the announcement. You appear to have grown some antlers. That is not a technical difficulty. That's just, sometimes you're feeling some kind of way on a day and you're like, I need my VTuber to reflect who I am inside. And right now I am a startled creature from the deep forest. So that's who I'm being today. Anyways, hello. How are y'all? I hope you are well. As mentioned, so I have, you can't really see it at the moment, but like 30 minutes ago, it was just rattling, like, especially my middle finger. It was just like, just vibrating at the speed of sound. Concerningly, but it seems to have simmered down. And, so I was kind of scrambling. I was a bit of a scramble boy before stream started, because I wasn't sure whether or not I was going to. As you can see, most of this painting is painted. What we're doing today is fine details and line weight. And the last thing that I want when I'm trying specifically to do fine details and line weight is to have, oh, there she is to have a pronounced tremor in the hand that I use to do artwork. Oh my goodness. Joe, thank you so much for the 35 stream steak. Please enjoy your 35 steaks. I hope you have adequate freezer space to accommodate them or that you're very hungry. In any case, I hope you enjoyed them and thank you so very much for the lurk as well. Thank you for the steak. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you. Anywho. So yeah, if I attempt to do some line weight and stuff and it turns out I cannot comfortably hold a paintbrush and paint a reasonably straight line, we're gonna have to do we're gonna have to do some alternate artworks because if my hand is feeling unsteady and I don't think I'm gonna be able to like paint in teeny tiny I mean, I swear the little guys I draw into landscapes are getting smaller and smaller. Like this little pair of creatures are so teeny tiny that it is frankly miraculous that I managed to paint in, like, you know, their little trousers without goofing. So, but that being said, yeah, my hand, you can't really see the shaking right now. I feel like it does it more when my hand is at certain angles, but it seems to do it less when I'm like, my hand is touching something, so I'm hoping that it won't be super effective. Let me just... I think we should be okay holding a paintbrush. Hooray. Anyways, 35 steamed steaks. Are they anything like steamed hams? Says Samantha. I don't know. I'm gonna be honest with you though. I've never had steamed hams as a specific regional version of the hamburger. Is there a difference or is it just what they call them? I'm not sure. Anyways, if you don't know what I'm talking about, oh my god, you gotta go look up steamed hams. It is one of the greatest comedy bits ever devised, and it is also like a Simpsons clip, but I swear to god, you just watch steamed hams. It is a masterclass in comedy. Anyways, hello Leaky, and thank you so much for the lurk, and also hello. I hope you are well, and I hope you had a good weekend. My guess is steamed steak is a regional dialect for hot dogs. Yes. Steamed steak is a regional dialect for hot dogs. It all makes sense. The only way to make steamed hams is to isolate the aurora borealis in your kitchen. See, that's where I keep going wrong. Last winter, when there were aurora sightings in the UK, and even someone I know locally in Oxfordshire was like posting pictures of the aurora that they could see from the end of their street. But because of where I'm situated, relative to like the sky, I mean like elevation wise and relative to like the rest of my neighborhood and that kind of thing, I couldn't see anything when I tried to go out and look when there was supposedly like prime aurora viewing. I saw the sky and that was it. Like I tried, but no aurora borealis for me. And the worst thing about this is that you would think as a Canadian that I would have seen the aurora at some point. Because it's like a thing that Canada, I think, is known for. We're northern, right? We get things like the aurora borealis. Guess what? The part of Canada that I'm from is the little sticky downy bit that, like, goes, sort of the, most of the Canada-US border is like this, but then there's a little nubbin that comes down like that. I'm in the nubbin, okay? That's where I'm from. And latitude wise, you gotta tilt the map a little bit to properly see it. But if you take the latitude of where I'm from in the nubbin, it's actually the same latitude as Northern California over here. It's significantly further south than I live in the UK. Anyways, so the planet is wild, and I never saw a ding-dong aurora borealis the entire, like, almost 30 years I lived in Canada, and then I move here, and it's like, oh, everybody's looking at the aurora, and my house is just in the wrong spot to see it, and it's also happening at, like, 1 in the morning, so it's not like I'm gonna go out into the countryside near my house in the hopes that I might be able to see it from there, because it's 1 in the morning, and I am not leaving the house in my pajam jams alone at 1 in the morning. Because even if I consider my neighborhood to be reasonably safe, I don't know that there isn't a Bigfoot out there that's gonna get angry at me for disrupting their beauty sleep, and then want to fight me. Like, and also, my neighborhood is I mean, it's not a terrible neighborhood, but it's not the most salubrious neighborhood, so what if Bigfoot's got a knife? Like, we don't know, anyways. So I wouldn't do it. The only time that I'm out of the house at that late hour is if I'm coming back from a gig in London, and these days, if I'm going to a gig in London, I'm not coming back at that late hour. Because I have to wait for the bus for a really long time in you know, a neighborhood that's just eerily quiet, and I don't like that, and then I'm just tired. So I end up just getting a hotel and staying in a hotel in London and coming home at like 3 in the afternoon the next day after dooting around and drinking a lot of very good coffee. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, the Aurora Borealis. I think it was too cloudy up here. Not that the skylights or something I would go out of my way to see, says Samantha. I would like to see them. I would like to see them. And as a photographer, I'd love to be able to attempt to photograph them. But I suppose the other thing is, as a painter, why don't I just attempt to paint them? But I would love to paint from my own reference photo of them, I think, would be nice. But, anywho, Samantha in the chat says, remember folks, it is official that the US bottoms for Canada. Samantha, I love you very much, just so you know. That straight up murdered me. Anyways, hello Cloak and Coffee, how's it going? It's lovely to see you. Speaking of coffee, here's mine. This is the Funhouse blend from Newground Coffee, which is a local roastery to the city that I live in. Very good. Do recommend. This is a coffee blend that they debuted, I think, last year when they did a 90s week, which made me feel incredibly old. But the label has a lovely bit of sort of like 90s sort of sky tie-dye aesthetic to it that makes me feel very happy. It reminds me of when I was a carefree young, well, I say carefree, I had anxiety because I was, you know, I hadn't been peer reviewed about my neurodivergence yet, so I just didn't understand why everyone thought I was weird and off-putting. Anyways, but yes, what's my point? Oh yeah, the coffee. She's good. She's good. There's a bit of I would say there's a bit of like a caramel taste to it, and it's definitely on the fruitier side. Yeah, definitely getting some like juicy berry and caramel. It's delightful. Anyways, should I...
Attention!
Twitch user Sammy Kelsch.
We've got a raid. That's much more important than painting. Hello, Sammy Ann. Welcome in. Hello, Raiders. Sammy Ann, how was your stream? What did you get up to today? It is wonderful to see you as always, and welcome. Hello. Let me get a shout out for you in the chat. Y'all, if you're not familiar with the amazing Sammy Ann art, please go give her a follow right there. You can do that because the chat bot's working. Yeah, what are you up to today? Ah, shoot. I saw that you'd posted a new Pokemon art on the Blue Sky, and I was going to give it some engagement, and then I had a ping from day job, and I had to go do a work task, and I forgot to do it. So I will do it imminently. Working on the Pokemon Eevee series, trying to work on the window for Flareon. Oh, delightful. Let's go look at Blue Sky then, lol, says Sammy. Yeah, that's a great idea. Anyways. For anyone who's new here, hello. My name is Twitch user Sammy Kelsch. I almost forgot how to say my name for a second. I'm a variety streamer. I do cozy art streams on Mondays and most Thursdays. I do cozy game streams on Fridays and occasionally on Thursdays if I'm feeling extra crispy, which I am this week. We're going to be plowing the fields of Mystria on Thursday, and I'm very much looking forward to getting back into that game, 'cause oh boy, so many villagers we could conceivably go on dates with. We're probably not good enough friends with any of them to go on dates with them yet, but maybe we can just pick one and see if we can speedrun that friendship until we can go on a date. Anyways, ooh, Dahlias and or Zinnias is Flareon's nature components. Oh, I love both of these flowers. I love them. Like, Dahlias are gorgeous. Zinnias are one of the few flowers I've grown, and they are absolutely delightful. I love this. I love this so much. Anyways, let me see if I can... Oh, no. Hold up. I don't have the window up. Let me just grab my... Let's look at Friendo's artwork window. Hopefully this works. Okay. You don't need to send me a link. I can just
Twitch
look at...
user Sammy Kelch.
Hello.
Choppers.
Jam! Jam, hello, welcome in. Thank you so much for the raid. Hello, pals. Hello, everyone, and welcome. So many friends are here. Oh my goodness. Hello. And welcome, friends. Jam, how is your stream? What did you get up to today? The art of the thing. Thank you so much for following. Welcome on in, and hello. Hello. Let me get a shout out for Jam, and then let me say hello to everyone who's just come in. And attempt to introduce myself if I can. The jury's out, but I'll try my best. We're having a case of the Mondays today, but hello, Casa. Hello, Kiona. Hello, The Art of the Thing. Hello, Spudgers. Jam, of course. Hello, Rex. Welcome, everyone. Hello, Raiders. Sammy Ann just raided before you got here. Please keep the follow button ready as you cozy on into this fabulous artist, Sammy Ann. You're being too kind. On lunchtime, right into a whole new place, says Rex. I hope that it's not too disorienting for you, but it's wonderful to see you as always, and welcome. Hello. How is it going, Jam? How is your painting going? I did briefly pop in for a little lurky-loo earlier, while I was unfortunately having to do my day job. But I saw that there was some beautiful florality happening over there as well. Lovely day for florals. So I'm painting a train station. This is Park Royal Station in London. It is on the Piccadilly line of the London Underground. It was built in 1931 or 1932, if memory serves, and assuming that the tremor in my hand that was mysteriously manifested has gone away now, I will be doing all of the line weight and tiny details. So that's how I'm going today. My painting went well, says Jam. Not much progress, but a great stream, a chatting, motivation, and the like. Oh, that's wonderful. If you haven't hung out with Jam, Jam is a wonderful stream to hang out in as well, and you should definitely go give him a follow. Lovely day for floral, so I'm painting a train station. So it goes. Anyways, for anyone who's not familiar with me and my oeuvre, my name is Twitch user Sammy Kelch. I'm a variety streamer. I do cozy art streams on Mondays and Thursdays. I do cozy game streams on Fridays, and every once in a while on a Thursday, including this one, I do a game stream as well. I'm feeling extra crispy, and there was an update to Fields of Mystery that I have not explored yet, so we're gonna do that this week, and I am excited to see if we can go on some dates with some handsome and beautiful villagers. Oh gosh. Anyways, I don't know where that went, but anyways, hello. Yes. Who am I? I am a traditional artist who works mostly in. I've been given weird looks for calling it largely wet media, but when I say wet media, I mean like, you know, really things that you have to use a lot of water for, like watercolors. That's what I mean when I say wet media. I don't know if does that sound weird? Is that like, oh man, there is like an American regional sandwich, I believe. I don't know a lot about regional American cuisine, but I find it fascinating as like a non-American. I swear somewhere there's a sandwich called a wet beef sandwich, and I'm just like, you know, something about the choice of word makes that not sound delicious. It's not quite as bad as the loose meat sandwich, but it's up there. Something about the loose meat also, not feeling it. Anyways, I also don't eat meat. Wet drawing. Oil painting is a lubed drawing, says Casa. Yes, thank you. I have considered getting back into attempting to do oil paintings again, because I have like 4 tubes of oil paint. And I feel like I should use them, because I paid for them. But it's such a different medium to something like watercolor that I feel really out of my depth. But that's really fun sometimes. So at some point we'll do some more oil painting on stream, just for funsies. That's not in my region if it is real, thankfully. I have to look it up now. I have to look up where this sandwich is from. Hold up. It's Chicago. It's Chicago. The Chicago Italian wet beef sandwich. It's Chicago. Thank you so much for that, Chicago. I really appreciate it. At least it's given me a good horror, I guess. This stream is supposed to be nice and cozy. I don't know if it's working, but this is supposed to be a cozy stream. Anyways, just before Jam raided, we also had a raid from Sammy Ann, so I'm going to stick with the deep dish Chicago. Oh God, yes. I mean, Chicago also does like a thin crust pizza that's apparently really good. Just stick with the pizza generally. I do love a deep dish pizza though. Oh man. Jack says, I can't believe I've arrived to wet beef. What a thing to walk in on. I'm so sorry you had to walk in on wet beef. I really am. Anyways, if you're not following Sammy Ann, who raided a few minutes ago, here's another opportunity to do so, and I am going to hopefully pull up some artworks on some socials for us to look at for just a moment. Whereupon you will see some works of some people who raided us, because we had some raids, and that's really nice. This always takes a second to work now because Instagram has changed their settings so that it doesn't just work automatically anymore, and I always have to go and pick the Instagram window. Thanks, Instagram. Anyways, this is something that I painted. This is by me. I posted it recently. I painted it months ago, but please, I don't know, please especially enjoy the foxgloves, the heliotropes, oh God, what was this? What was it? Is this... I can't remember. Honeysuckles. The honeysuckles in the back and the primroses in the grass as well. Because I enjoyed those. But more importantly, here's some art from Sammy Ann. This is Vaporeon, one of the evolutions. She was working on, was it Flareon you were working on today? I think it was Flareon today. She's painting all of the evolutions, and they are so stinking cute. If you like whimsy and dragons and delightful characters and beautiful scenes and all that jazz, you definitely should give Sammy Ann a follow. And you should also give Jam a follow if you like an excellent place to land and hang out and talk about stuff and also look at beautiful artworks being done, like this wonderful flower that Jam painted. Jam has also been doing these little short videos on YouTube, and I think on Instagram as well, going out into like nature and finding something to paint and then doing a teeny tiny painting of it, and I love them so much, and I think they're absolutely delightful, and it's been a really fun series to watch happen. So yeah, do go follow Jam and Sammy Ann. Go do. And yeah, anyways, let me get as well, if I think there's a cooldown time on this, but Sammy Ann asks, are you using acrylics? I'm pretty sure, if memory serves, you were doing acrylics today as well. Yes, Jam? Yes, acrylics. Anyways, there we go. If you're not following the lovely James B. Barrow, you should go do that right there. You can click the button. No pressure, obviously. I'm not the boss of you, and I don't want to create a demand that makes you feel bad, but I heartily recommend doing so because it is a wonderful place to hang out and a good time, and you get to look at art being made that is really nice. So you should do that. Anyways, I'm sorry that sentence was so long. Why am I like this? My point is, there's the thing to go follow Jam. You should also go follow Sammy, and thank you both of you for the raids. I really appreciate it. And to everyone else who is here, hello. Hello. I hope you're having wonderful Mondays. I hope you had wonderful weekends. I hope you have a wonderful week planned up ahead. It is wonderful to see you. It is so nice to be here. I've rambled on a lot. I forget what my point was. I don't think I had one. I did, as I mentioned earlier, I did have a tremor in this hand earlier, which seems to have, I can still spy a microscopic vibration, but it seems to have more or less passed. So I think I just twanged it while I was making salad somehow. I've got salad marinating in my fridge, and somehow I managed to, like, twang a nerve or something. Making salad? And my hand was just like, nah! for quite a while. But it seems to have abated more or less, so hopefully I'm feeling steady enough that I can paint in all of the little detaily doodads and in these little doorways and windows and the little map over here and the little sort of notice board here and the little windows and just everything. Well, but we shall soon see, I suppose. I'm going to take a sip of my tea in the meantime, which you'll be happy to know is not caffeinated. This is strawberry and pomegranate. Nice. Anyways, I'm sure I had other thoughts. I had many thoughts today, and they've all completely fled my mind now, which is just great. Anyways, I hope you're all well. I hope you're having good Mondays. It is predictably incredibly humid here today, which has been quite par for the course for a while, but it has been raining, which was nice. I heard tell from someone in the chat who is based significantly further north than I am that it's been very windy for them. I've got, the Edinburgh Festival's on now. I've got a few friends who are up at Edinburgh. I've got one person I know who's up doing their show this month, and several friends who are up just to go look at stuff. Gotta hop into a lurk, says Jam. Of course, go do all of your post-stream activity and or rest as appropriate. And thank you so much for the lurk, and thank you again very much for hopping on into the stream. I do appreciate it. Hope the painting goes excellently. Thank you. I do too, because I'm liking this as a series. I'm really enjoying this. Of doing like different London tube stations, but specifically my one of the things I like about it is that I'm picking stations for these paintings. This is the second one that I've done, of a London tube station. Not necessarily paintings of like great import. They're not necessarily like one of the big famous termini in the city center, or even like a major interchange or anything like that. You know, I'm not painting like Waterloo Station or Paddington Station, or you know, one of those the big ones like those, or Victoria, Euston, that kind of thing. Because they're not necessarily the most visually interesting ones, all of them. Well, I mean, some of them are definitely pretty. But like the sort of the main entrance to Waterloo Station is quite nice. But I like the little stations sort of further out along the lines that you get where the architect has just done something interesting, and I think the architect just did something interesting here. And you get a lot, you know, of a certain era or certain eras. I think you get stations sort of like in these quieter, more residential areas where they were doing quite interesting things architecturally. They didn't really necessarily need to, but they just wanted to do that. And I think it's fantastic. As someone who has a special interest in these things for some reason. Like I have been known to just travel to areas of town just because I know that there's a neat looking station there. One of my favorite neighborhoods, actually, to just like doot around in. This station exterior itself, unfortunately, is just sort of in the ground floor of an otherwise quite unremarkable building. But the thing that's super fun about that, because I think it went through quite a lot of rebuilding some decades ago. But the thing that's really fun about that station is that it has the longest escalator on the underground network, and every time I take that escalator, I am like a weird combination of fascination and like, ooh, this is fun because this escalator is so long, it isn't that exciting, and also just actually being scared, because escalators kind of freak me out a little bit, but scared in like a fun way. Is that, I don't know if that's weird. Anyways, does Waterloo Station give you a discount on your tickets if you're wearing Wellington boots? Oh my god, I wish they did, Samantha, because I would super exploit that, because man, train tickets can be really expensive. I don't love that for me as a person who doesn't have very much money. That would be amazing. Even though I find Wellington boots uncomfortable, I feel like I could bear it for the sake of a discount. You know, I'm not above that. Anyways, that's a delightful goof, and I enjoyed it. That's good tea. I don't know what to start with. I feel like I should start with adding all of the little details onto sort of like the inside of the windows and doors and stuff. My moderator / spouse has commented in Discord. What did he say? What did I do? Oh. So I don't know if y'all saw my going live message, but my going live message today was, and I'm gonna have to try and do the voice, so apologies for this. This London station isn't going to paint itself. Guess it's up to me today on The French Chef. And this is entirely because I've been watching old episodes of Julia Child's The French Chef cooking program, because their PBS is just posting them all on YouTube, which is amazing. So you can just watch like every episode of The French Chef with Julia Child from like the 60s for free, which I very much enjoy. Am I going to cook any of these foods? No. Are like especially the black and white episodes, none of this food looks appetizing. But I'm sure it's all super delicious because she's a very accomplished chef and food writer. Very, influential. But, Archon says, but what are the 3 secrets of French cooking? Archon, also hello Archon, welcome in. If I haven't said hi to you, hello. But I can't tell you the 3 secrets of French cooking, because if I tell you the 3 secrets of French cooking, they wouldn't be secrets, would they? So I can't say. Because I have to keep them secret. Also, I'll be honest, I don't really do a lot of French cooking, and I don't think I'm very good at French cooking. Also, the doctor has told me that I need to keep an eye on my cholesterol. Though that being said, when I got my cholesterol checked, which I didn't realize they were doing when they took my blood, it was like 3 days before Christmas, so I'd been eating like 3 mince pies a day for several weeks. So I feel like that might have skewed things slightly. Though that being said, I did have cheese today. But listen, there was a cheesemonger at my local market, and they had, not only did they have Yarg, which is one of my favorite cheeses, it's wrapped in nettle leaves, and it has a really nice, sort of, it's not super strong, but like just strong enough of a flavor that's quite distinctive that I enjoy. But they also had what neither my husband nor I had ever seen before, and my husband, bearing in mind, is from Leicestershire, white Leicester cheese. Red Leicester is very ubiquitous. You see it in every supermarket here. But white Leicester? Never heard of it. So of course we had to buy a thing of white Leicester cheese. And when I tell you, it's delicious. It's delicious. Anyways. Archon says in Julia Child voice, oh boy. Butter, butter, and more butter. There we go. She's so much fun. But I also feel like if I'd ever met Julia Child in person, I would be incredibly intimidated by her, because she's like so knowledgeable and experienced in cooking, but B, she's also like 7 feet taller than I am. And I generally find anyone taller than me intimidating, which is most people because I'm 5 feet tall. I also find children in general intimidating. And most of them are shorter than me. So, I think I'm just scared of other people. I think I'm realizing some things about myself right now. Anyways, one of them is anchovy/anchovy paste. My 1960s French cookbook I have includes anchovies in so many forms in almost every recipe, says Rex. Anchovies is a very good secret ingredient. It's not something I've ever cooked with, but I'm familiar enough with the oeuvre that I know that anchovies, I think the introduction to the idea of anchovies for me was like as an ingredient on pizza that people found gross, which I don't think is fair. Because really, I think in most recipes where you include anchovies just as like a cooking ingredient, they're just there to add sort of like a salty umami-ness. And because they will literally just like disintegrate into a sauce, that kind of thing. Though there's, what is that French dish that's like, it's like a bread and then it's got like onions and anchovies and I think maybe cheese on it. I can't remember what it's called, but it looks really good. Anyways, also, anchovies, Caesar salad dressing? Probably not the ones you get in supermarkets. Because I feel like they want to make these things as like veggie friendly as possible, like salad dressing. But I feel like if you like a lot of Caesar dressings have anchovy as an ingredient in it because it gives. Can you not add saltiness with salt? Asks Samantha. Yes, of course you can, but sometimes you want to add additional flavors along with the salt, and you can get that from things like anchovies. I like to use I have a lot of dishes that I cook with miso, and miso is a very salty ingredient, so it gives that salinity, but it also imparts other flavors along with it, because it's got like a savoriness to it, a little bit of sort of like a funkiness, and it's delicious. So yes, anyways. Like a hobbit meeting Treebeard, says Sammy, and yes, exactly, that's how I would feel, and I'm slightly taller than 5 feet. Yay! Cloak and Coffee says, so the only people not intimidating are adults who are equal and shorter height to you. Honestly, still intimidated. I think I'm just shy. I learned how to make rice from that book, though, so it's been useful enough. Hey, that is a wonderful core skill to have, and I'm glad that you were able to acquire it. I do not think I have ever wanted to add additional flavors along with the salt, says Samantha. That's fair enough, too. Sometimes I like to cook a food where I just want to let the ingredient shine, you know? Like, oh, geez, we got some beautiful tomatoes at the farmer's market on the weekend. Absolutely gorgeous. And, you know, sometimes I'll see like a food writer or a chef or something say, you know, like when you have a beautiful tomato in season, you don't want to add anything to it other than, you know, sort of like a pinch of salt and a little bit of olive oil and some balsamic vinegar and a twist of lemon peel. And I'm like, stop! No, when you have a beautiful, you know, sun-ripened tomato direct from the farmer's market, or even better, your own tomato plant if you are so lucky, the only thing you want to add to it is a tiny pinch of salt, just to, like, wake up the flavor. And that's it. That's all it wants. Just tomato salt. If it's a good tomato, that is one of the most sublime bites of food in my estimation. You know? I made a meal the other day, and I steamed some potatoes, and I steamed this giant courgette that we also got from the farmer's market that was not as big as I realized it. I didn't realize how big it was when I bought it, and then I got it home, and I was like, oh, shoot. It was like a mountain of courgettes. And I literally just seasoned those with a little bit of butter and salt, and they were delicious, because it was a really good courgette, and they were really good potatoes. And sometimes you just want to taste the vegetable. But then on the other hand, sometimes I want to throw like 5 spices at a thing. Also delightful, you know? Oh man, like if you've never made yourself like frozen oven chips, but before they go into the oven or the air fryer, you sprinkle them with like a liberal sprinkling of chaat masala, when I tell you that is one of my favorite ways to eat chips. It is one of the best ways to eat chips. Oh my god. Chaat masala is beautiful and it loves potatoes. That's just chaat masala. Is good. Anchovies add umami. They're used in much the same way that Chinese cuisine uses MSG, says Archon. Yes, exactly. Yes. Good old MSG. We love it. You want to add 5 spices? Let me introduce you to 5 spices, Archon. I do like a good 5 spice. You know what 5 spice is really nice in? Gingerbread. You're making a gingerbread? Just use 5 spice. Just use 5 spice in place of whatever, like, spice selection ingredients. Just put 5. It's so good. It's so good. It is my favorite gingerbread biscuit recipe. It's just 5 spice. If your 5 spice doesn't have ginger in it as one of the spices, add some ginger also, I guess. I thought you were really going to stop at gin. This is, look, okay, this is, please, United Kingdom, I beseech thee, do not deport me for this. I don't like gin. I don't. I'm not a big alcohol enjoyer at the best of times. If it's like, if I am called upon to have a little alcohol beverage, it will be a half pint of like a good cider. I like a good cider. I like one that tastes of apples. I do not like gin. I'm sorry. Please still be my friend. Please and thank you. Anyways, is gin a quintessentially British alcohol? Asks Samantha. It was certainly not a popular drink of choice among anyone I knew back in Canada, but here it seems to be a very popular topic of people who like to make jokes about drinking to cope, which I find worrying, and I will not feed into that culture because I don't think that's a healthy way to be. I really don't. If you find that you're having to make drinks, if you're finding you're having to make jokes about drinking to cope, you should genuinely consider whether or not you need, I don't know, maybe to not do that. Like, maybe consider, I don't know, counseling. Anyways, source, London Dry Gin, says Archon. There's a point. London Dry Gin. There we go. London Dry Gin are obviously a biased source. Sammy says, is that like allspice, or am I really... Allspice is really interesting. Allspice is an interesting ingredient because despite the fact that it's called allspice, it is actually comes from a single berry. If you want a blend of spices, there's mixed spice, or lots of other spice. Allspice is actually just a single berry. I think also known in some quarters as pimento. Though I don't know if it's the same kind of pimento that Southerners in the U.S. make cheese out of. I don't think it is. But it is actually a singular ingredient, which is wild to me. I think it's because it kind of tastes like a blend of a couple of different spices. But allspice is one thing. Now you know. Also a delicious berry. As the spice berries go. But it's so herby, says Cloak and Coffee. I can't do it. I don't know. It tastes like perfume to me. It tastes, there's something in it that tastes like I shouldn't be drinking it. In gins. I've had some people say that, oh, you just haven't tried the right gin. And I'm like, I don't want to have to drink my way through a bunch of gins to find one that I like. Because A, that's going to be really expensive. I'm probably going to waste a lot of money. I can just drink other things I enjoy. The right gin is no gin. It is for me. It is for me. Archon said, cinnamon, cumin, and cardamom for your beef. Trust. That sounds like a winning combo for sure. Rex says, everything I know about the UK, which is mostly James May, is yes, they like gin. Here are the things that I know about James May. He has this one shirt that he really likes to wear that's got like pink and purple stripes, and it looks fine. He likes gin, and he is a terrible cook. I've watched several YouTube videos of him attempting to make sandwiches, and I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? Anyways, but yes, Cloak says, I make cloak tails as a hobby. I love that. That's beautiful. Wonderful wordplay. If you don't like what's in the cup, don't drink it. I wholeheartedly agree. I have had in my cupboard for absolutely ages because I bought it because I thought the label was cute and it was on sale. It was a mini bottle that came with like a little Christmas gift set with one of those mason jars that you drink from. And it's a little dark rum. And I keep meaning to get a ginger ale to go with it because that's a winning combo, I think. It's really hard to find a ginger ale that doesn't have artificial sweetener in it, and I feel like artificial sweetener would ruin it because the rum already tastes sweet to me, and then the ginger ale is like artificially sweet. It's gonna be too sweet, and I'm gonna not enjoy that. So yeah. Anyways. My preferred alcohol conveyance is teeny tiny bottles that I can just nurse for like months, having like half a teaspoon out as I go. Anyways, the thing I know about James May is that he's the least shit one off of Top Gear. That's the impression that I get. I remember when, before I moved to this country, I would come visit and I would stay in hotels from time to time. And I just remember there was at least one TV channel that just did nothing but show old episodes of Top Gear. So I watched so many episodes of Top Gear and I learned so many things about cars. And in the distance of years between then and now is about 15, and I can tell you nothing about cars now except for the phrase flappy paddle gearbox and Wankel rotary engine because I thought they sounded funny. Anyways, make your own ginger ale, then it's exactly right, says Cloak and Coffee. I would love to, but I'm also lazy. But ginger ale I feel like would be a good thing to make because ginger's cheap. Ginger is so cheap. So you could buy a lot of it and not spend a ton of money. What about ginger beer, says Sammy Ann. It can be non-alcohol, but isn't as sweet as ginger ale. Oh yeah, ginger beer is lovely. The real kicker for me is that here in the UK there is a tax on added sugar in beverages. If there's over a certain amount of added sugar, it gets taxed at a higher rate. one of the government's like milk toast and ham-fisted initiatives to make the country healthier. Has it worked? Have they done any like studies on this several years on to see whether or not it's actually done anything demonstrably like changeable for the nation's health? Because I doubt it. Basically what it means is that like most of the major drinks manufacturers just make drinks that are either a blend of sugar and added artificial sweeteners, or they just do 0-calorie stuff now. And I can't tolerate artificial sweeteners. I think that they're gross, and I think that they ruin the way that things taste. This is entirely subjective and personal, but I think my palate is very sensitive to them. And they're bad for me. And so it makes finding a soft drink that doesn't have them really difficult. And so I haven't been able to get ginger ale yet. That's my point. Maybe I should make my own. That sounds like work, though. Anyways, it's 56 minutes into the stream and I haven't painted squat. Oh no. What are we doing? I gotta bring up my reference. Let's do a tiny little something. So, for anyone who's new here, many of the artificial sweeteners aren't good for you anyway, says Cloak and Coffee. I wholeheartedly agree. I think there's a lot that, like, I know that there's been research on how, like, regular consumption of artificial sweeteners can actually make you crave sugar more because you're consuming these, like, extremely, like, artificially inflated, your perception of sweetness. Or possibly it creates that sort of, like, subconscious idea that, like, oh, well, I didn't have this, I had a beverage that didn't have any sugar in it, so I can have this other super unhealthy thing to make up for it. So you're not necessarily getting the health benefits of consuming less sugar because you're just consuming more sugar someplace else. Also, your brain runs on glucose. Like, you need to get some sugar in your diet in order to live. Maybe not the amount that's in, like, if you drink 6 cans of Coke a day, but, you know, you do need some in order to, like, live. Anyways, there's sugar in my tea. So I'm fine. It retrains your body to expect fewer calories per sweetness, says Samantha. It just, you know, I don't want to knock it because, like, some people need to not consume sugar. And the reason that we crave sweet things to begin with is that our bodies need calories, says Samantha. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You know, I think that there's a lot to be said about, like, I don't know, like, there's other qualms and problems that I have with regard to, and I know I've soapboxed about this before, so I don't want to go on about it too long, but the way that like government health initiatives tend to be sort of punitive towards unhealthy foods without making healthier foods easier or more accessible or as delicious as the unhealthy foods are always going to fail. Because it's like, if it genuinely costs that much more for me to have, like, a healthy snack than it does a packet of crisps, and a packet of crisps is ultimately going to feel more filling to me than, like, an orange, if I'm genuinely hungry, which one of these, if they're the same price, and they are, which one of these am I going to pick? We have an affirmation request from Sammy Ann, so that's what I'm going to do now. I've got my affirmation deck out, and we're going to find something nice to say. Which is, I think we've got just enough time to do before we run into ads. And then once we've run into ads, I will come back and actually paint. I promise I will. My tremor seems to have gone away, so I think I should be able to safely do it. Let us select an card from the deck of affirmations. Thank you so much for this redeem. I do appreciate it. Because it's a nice thing. Not moving on is worse, my friends. And honestly, this is relatable to me because I'm the kind of person who does tend to, like, ruminate on things that happened a long time ago that are inconsequential, that no one else remembers. And it's not good to do that, you know? You can just... Everyone else has forgotten about that embarrassing thing that you said or did 20 years ago. And if they haven't, that's a them problem. Like, you don't have to continue carrying that with you, and you really shouldn't. And yet I still do. Sometimes I'll wake up in the middle of the night and be like, oh my god, I said something embarrassing 20 years ago. Ah! Don't do that! Or do that. Acknowledge the fact that, you know, it's a feeling that happens, and it's a silly feeling, but it happens anyways, and that's okay, and then move on again. Pirate deck, you need to hit me with a 2x4, appreciated, says Sammy Ann. That was a 2x4. Yes, I do. My trauma is funny, says Cloak and Coffee. Oof. Oof baboof. That was definitely an oof baboof, and I feel it, I know it. Honestly, there are some things that have happened in my life that I wish I could just, like, eternal sunshine out, because every once in a while they'll just pop back and be like, hey, do you remember? You've just been reminded of this horrible thing that happened to you, and you have complicated feelings about. You're gonna think about them again, and that sucks, but you know what? I try really hard not to like, marinate in them, or live in them, and it's not a good place to leave yourself. You know, acknowledge that stuff has happened to you, because you are a person who has had experiences. Some of them are good and some of them are bad, but the bad ones, you know, you can, if you can leave them kind of in the dust as best as you can, and they'll keep coming back, but just keep leaving them in the dust. Because honestly, pardon my French, fuck them. You know, you gotta move forward if you can, as best as you can. And, I'm pulling for you. We're all in this together. And now it's an ad break. What a wonderful timing. Please enjoy the ad break. Also, I'm not a licensed therapist, so don't listen to my advice if you think it's crap. But affirmations are nice. Thanks for continuing to hang out. I'll be back very shortly, and you won't miss anything because we are on a BRB screen. Enjoy it. Enjoy the ads if you get them. Or if the ads suck, I apologize, but I'll see you very shortly. And BRB. Hello, friends. I'm back. Thank you so much for sticking around, and welcome back to the screen where we look at the art that I haven't done anything with yet. Anyways, Rex says, don't worry, I didn't listen to your advice. My coworker came up and told me she was ordering supplies, so I was away looking at all of our consumable stock and came back to, don't listen to my advice. Thank you so much for not listening to it, Rex! You literally didn't. That's amazing. Anyways, I had resolved that I was going to make myself a cup of tea on this break before I started stream. So I had, like, the tea all ready to go, and I just needed to pour hot water into it. But I still have 4 beverages on the go, because I've got what's left of this coffee. I've got a strawberry and pomegranate tea over here. And I also have a mint tea down there. And I also now have, just to the left of me, where my coffee was just now, I have Hello Kitty's pink apple pie tea, which is, it's as delightful and whimsical as that sounds. Okay, I'm sure I sweetened that, but it doesn't taste like I did, so I'm gonna go out on a limb and guess that I need to stir it up. Anyways, Maggie! Hello, welcome in! Maggie says, I just joined, so I also did not listen to your advice. Good, great, you shouldn't. I am literally just like a 40-something goblin, who has no expertise in anything worth listening to, so, like, you shouldn't. Archon is ignoring me. Fantastic. I love this. This is great. Good job, everyone. Anyways. I'm going to attempt to take a big sip of this coffee so I can just put it somewhere and not worry about knocking it over, because it will be empty. Anyways, Maggie is the advice giver, not the advice receiver. Well, there we go. Maggie is a font of sage wisdom. I would argue that you have expertise in whimsy, says Maggie. Aw, thank you. I do try. Samantha says, since I should not listen to your advice, I will ignore the advice to not listen to your advice. Oh my god, you're doing it super correctly, but in a way that breaks my brain. I love it. Good. Fantastic. Great. Yes. Amazing. I don't know what's happening anymore. Does anyone in the chat have possession of the brain cell, because it seems to have left my studio? It is no longer here. Oh no. Anyway, speaking of brain cells, I was listening to a podcast earlier that got onto the topic of the ancient and unknown language of Linear A, which we have many, many examples now of, like written examples of, or like tablets that have this writing in this alphabet, but we have no way of translating it. And so it's just this mystery. And it's really interesting because, like, probably a lot of these samples of writing in this language are probably just like, you know, they're probably like sales invoices and public notices and like super boring things like that. But there might be some poetry in there. You know, there might be a really good recipe for salad. We don't know. And it would be a neat thing to know. But it's one of those things that, like, I've known about this for years, and I was reminded of it today. And it's one of those things where it's just like, this is the kind of thing that if I had allowed myself to pursue that, like, avenue academically, I would simply become too, like, fixated on it. I feel like it could very easily become one of those, like, oh, it's gonna bother me if I don't solve this puzzle, and just devote my entire life to trying to solve the puzzle to the exclusion of all other things. And I don't think that that's healthy, because you need to be able to think about other stuff sometimes, like what you're gonna eat for dinner, and what time do you have to go pick up your partner from their doctor's appointment, and Star Trek. So it's probably for the best that I didn't end up going into, like, that kind of study as a vocation, because I would have just been screwed by, like, those sorts of, like, mysteries and stuff, and being like, no, I have to learn the ancient language no one can read. I would go even more just, like, insane goblin-y than I already am. But yeah, but only those three things, says Cloak and Coffee. Yeah, those three things are the important things. That's the thing. Speaking of one of those things, and you'll have to guess which one it is. I'm gonna share this. Star Trek. Would Sammy ever think about Star Trek while doing art, while doing specifically this art? Asked Samantha. No, never. Definitely not. I definitely don't have an entire storyline in my head for these two. Absolutely not. Don't even worry about it. This is just a perfectly normal painting. Anyways, you'll have to guess which one this is about, but I'm going to tell you about something that you're then going to have to forget about for, like, a couple of months. So one of my like stupid aspirations as an artist for as far back as I can remember, because I'm a child of the 90s, and zines were really cool in the 90s, and I always wanted to be part of a zine. I wanted to do a zine. I wanted something to do with a zine to be something that I could be involved with, right? And then we entered into, like, this decade where, I don't know, like, maybe fanzines are just too fancy, but I put my portfolio forward for, like, a number of fanzines, being like, yeah, I would love to paint you something for this, and got a slew of rejections. And I'm like, wow, I'm really feeling the community and togetherness in this fandom. Amazing. Great. I should only be getting rejection letters for opportunities that, like, I would have been paid for. This isn't fair. Anyways. Way to make me feel bad about myself. Hello, Pickles. Welcome in. But yeah, I'm not going to tell you which of the topics that I sometimes think about this is related to, but this is something that is in a few months, so forget it as soon as you've seen it, going to be published in a zine. My very first zine contribution of my whole life, and I feel very proud. I hope you like it. It's my favorite thing I've ever done. I painted it on, like, Friday or Saturday, I think. And just freaking lost it the whole time. Anyways, if you hate it, don't tell me. But I feel very proud of that painting because I think it's real stupid and fun. We have another affirmation! Pickles wants an affirmation. Okay. I can get you an affirmation. Cloak and Coffee says Bert and Ernie, but Star Trek, yes. See, the thing is, I just really felt like Odo and Quark from Deep Space Nine have a real Bert and Ernie thing going on. Don't make me explain it. It's just, I don't know. That's just their vibe. That's just their vibe. It's like it's the dynamic of the two guys who annoy each other and, like, but they also love each other. Like, they annoy each other, but they love each other. And I just think that that's neat. So I had to do it. They are an old married couple, yes. Oh, thank you for the hydrate as well, Pickles. Here's the deck. Hold on. Here's the deck. So fun fact, in a Dungeons and Dragons campaign that I was in for like a couple of years, it ran for a few years. I played a character when I chose the region of the map that I decided that they should be from. I was informed that is based on fantasy New Zealand, and I was like, oh heck, well, I'm gonna have to do an accent. So I did an accent for the character, but unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you feel about it, maybe fortunately. Anyways, my adventuring party got an airship, and ships have decks. Or, as my character would say, the dick. And every time I got to say that, I did a little giggle. Anyways, I'm going to finish this coffee now. Reminder that this is an adult stream for grown-ups. We tend to keep things fairly family-friendly here, but I'm not good at enforcing that in myself. But if your first message in chat is a bad off-color joke, you'll probably get banned. Anyways, let's have another affirmation. This is a vampire-mation. So I hope you like the spooky things. I mean, it's August, so it's basically Halloween. I'm very excited about that. I need to make some new spooky artworks to update my shop. I have a shop, by the way. It's a stream for grown-ups, childish grown-ups. Exactly. That's exactly who it's for, Pickles. Yes, you understand. This is a stream for childish grown-ups. Like me. That could be whimsy, or that could be, you know, jokes about, I don't know, butts. Either way. Anyways, I do have a shop. There's a lot of cozy autumnal stuff that's already in there, if that's your bag. There's a ghost barista. There's a bunch of vampire bats and werewolves. There's some pumpkins of various kinds. Just some nice pictures of things. They're not spooky, but we have lesbian hamsters from the Victorian era. Archon says, I'm definitely 100% an adult, and giving up your hobbies and things that spark joy in the name of being an adult is peak boomer BS. I wholeheartedly agree, and I'm so glad that as millennials, we more or less collectively decided to, like, abandon that. Because, like, screw that. I hate this idea that, and sometimes I see, like, younger people, like, people coming into adulthood in their, like, late teens and early 20s, thinking that there's just going to be a point at which they, like, hit age, like, 27 and just stop liking video games or, you know, like, superhero movies or, their Squishmallow collection. And it's like, no, it's artificial and weird to a bit. Like, your tastes do change. I hit 30 and I started getting much more interested in bird watching than I did previously to that. But on the other hand, I still really like a lot of the, you know, and a lot of the things that I've come back to that I liked when I was younger. Like, oh, I don't know, Star Trek. I would love to be a ghost barista, says Cloak of Coffee. I would love that for you. That'd be delightful. Let's have an affirmation. Let's have this affirmation. We haven't hit too many repeats on the affirmation deck, which is really good considering that I've been drawing them randomly, so I really hope that, no. Oh, I like this one! Also because this art is super cute. The artist for these is Illustory. And I think their art is so super cute. Romanticize your life, which I do think is a really nice thing to do. And this is something that I try and embody from time to time. And if you don't, I think this actually ties into what we're talking about. You know, like the fact that you're never too old to be whimsical. And I think at the same time, just romanticizing little things, I think also is kind of an embodiment of that sort of whimsy. Just like, you know, when you have to get up early in the morning, just to kind of be like, you know, this is actually really nice. This is lovely. Like, notice how the air feels better at that time of the day. Just, you know, like, oh, just wear something that makes you feel like you're covertly cosplaying as a character that you think is cool, even though you're technically dressed for the office. I absolutely do this. And you know what? It makes me feel great. Enjoy the inherent romance of, like, the ritual of making a cup of coffee or tea, that kind of thing. Just like in little ways. Just, you know, I don't know. I think it's positive for one's mental health to, like, notice these little things and appreciate these little things and romanticize how lovely these little things can be. Because ultimately, your life is a collage of teeny tiny, very mundane, everyday moments. But if you're able to at least pick out some of them and think of them in this, like, sort of romantic way, it makes life feel so much more fun. And fun is really important, even if you're, like, a boring old boomer who doesn't think you're allowed to have interests anymore just because you have a mortgage. Also, like, congratulations on being born in a decade that means you can afford to buy a house. Like, F you, also. I kid. I realize that not all of these things are generational, and there are absolutely boomers who cannot afford houses. Likewise, there are absolutely people my age who have way more money than I do, and are horrible people. And probably lots of people who have way more money than I do and are lovely people. Anyways, you can balance a stock portfolio while in a unicorn onesie, so why not, says Rex. Yeah, exactly. Like, why not? Archon says, look, the only difference between me now and me 20 years ago is my brain is fully formed and my back hurts. Oh, I feel that so hard, Archon. Oh, little boy. Anyways, I own a house and I'm not a horrible person, says Cloak. I love that for you. I'm congratulations, and I'm genuinely very happy for you that you're able to do that. I also recognize that, like, a large portion of the reason that I can't, personally, is that I live in the most expensive city in the country. Unfortunately, it's also one of the largest employers in mine and my moderator / spouse's day job sectors. So, yay! I own a house the only way millennials ever acquire a house. Inheritance, says Archon. I just had amazing accidental timing, says Cloak and Coffee. That is awesome, and I am very, very happy for you, genuinely. I just keep hoping for that. Ooh, speaking of, I have to remember to buy a lottery ticket tonight, because I was going to say, I keep hoping for that lottery win. I did win the lottery once. I won enough to buy about half of a Nintendo Switch, and I put the rest of it onto my credit card debt, and that's how I own a Nintendo Switch. And that was only because it was right at the start of the Panini, and I was like, oh damn, I'm gonna need to also be playing Animal Crossing like everybody else if my mental health is going to survive. What a fun time in our lives. Rex says, I own a house and I firmly believe it's because I'm in that few years gray area of when millennial ends, so therefore I chose not to be a millennial long enough to buy a house, and now I'm a millennial again. Oh, beans. Yeah. I don't actually know where, I mean, I think there's a bit of a kind of, as opposed to, with regard to rather what generations are what, but also, like, the generational markers, they're useful for, like, general trends, but they don't tell you everything about who you are as a person, because that's crazy. That's like saying that, hey, I have all these personality traits because I was born at the end of May and therefore I'm a Gemini, and not that I coincidentally have all these traits that are supposedly associated with Geminis, but it turns out are also diagnostic criteria for ADHD. I am not kidding. When I was, like, in my tweens and I was into all that kind of mystical stuff, I was like, damn, I really am a typical Gemini. And then, like, when I was in my mid-30s, I got to know some people who, made content about ADHD, and I was like, wait a second, those are all my Gemini traits. Uh-oh. Anyways, astrology is goofy, and I do not believe in it. But if you do, that's fine, and I'm sorry I said it was goofy. My filter does not exist today. I'm so sorry. I'm a baby millennial. Oh, hello. Hello. I'm sorry, you said the word baby, and my brain just started going baby talk. Hello, that's very condescending. I'm gonna not do that. I'm a baby millennial, and I bought my house only because I was run over by a car and got a settlement. Holy crap! I mean, that's an excellent use of your settlement, but damn, you should, like, this is the thing. Like, the number of people I know who are homeowners in my demographic, it's always via, like, it's not just like, you know, hey, you know, I turned 30 and I got married and we decided to buy a house together. It's always things like, I got a settlement because I was in an accident, or, you know, like some other kind of insane confluence of circumstances. Like, I met a wizard traveling down the road and he sold me 4 magic beans and I used that to buy a house. Like, it's always stuff like that. It's not like when my parents bought a house, it's because my dad had finished his master's degree and they were like, we should buy a house. That's how they bought a house. Like, what the hell? Oh boy, anyways. Cloak and Coffee says, when faced with Panini, play Animal Crossing on a finance Switch. Life advice for the... I mean, listen, it was a good thing to do at the time, for sure. Maggie does have the best story on how to buy a house in the modern day. Genuinely, excuse me. Hashtag millennial goal, says Archon, get hit by a rich person's car and buy a house. Samantha says, I know people who bought their houses for less than what my student loan is, much less. Oh, it hurts. We have considered the possibility of trying to buy, like, a property in destinations further, like, less, not salubrious, but less, like, southern, which tends to be more expensive than where we are at the moment. But the kicker behind all those things is that, like, okay, I can buy a house here, but there's nothing here. It's just like a housing estate and a bus stop and, like, desert, you know? There's nowhere that's gonna hire me to do worky work, so unless I somehow manage to make content creation my full-time employment, which, considering my sales figures from this year, I have a shop, by the way, it's not gonna happen anytime in my life. So, unless I can somehow get my act together and make YouTube videos more often, I doubt that's gonna happen. And I can't make YouTube videos more often because I've got the catch-22 of I don't have time to do it because I have to have a normal job. Anyways, my person was not rich at all. The vast majority came from suing my own insurance's underinsured, non-insured policy since the other person barely had any coverage. Oh my god. Insurance is so complicated and hurts my brain, but I'm glad that it happened for you at least. Apart from the accident, which is unfortunate, and I'm sad that happened, but I'm glad you got a house out of it, is what I'm trying to say. I bought my house for less than my student loan balance, says Rex, but I got my house at the end of 2019, so houses weren't as impossible as they now are. It was only minimally impossible then. The best way to make creative pursuits your full-time job is to be independently wealthy, says Samantha. Oh, I know it. Behind every successful creator is, like, a parent or spouse with, like, a high-earning regular job. And, fortunately, I married for love, and my parents are just, like, normal job retired. So, yeah. Anyways. Don't let me forget to buy a lottery ticket for tonight. Oh. That's my retirement plan right there. Yay. I have been seeing a number of people that I know who are, like, you know, successful in as much as they do it for their full-time job. Artist friends who've been doing a lot more, like, tabling at conventions and that kind of thing, which I've really avoided trying to do because doing things in person scares me. I am shy and I'm reasonably, I would say, you know, like, I've done customer service as well, and I've socialized a lot in my life, but I'm not the most comfortable in, you know, social situations, especially when I'm, like, tired and stuff, and you hear the way I talk on here. I'm a disaster. But also just, like, the logistics of it, it's really expensive. It costs a lot of money to A, make all the merch that you're gonna sell. B, get together all of the display equipment that you need to display your merch in an attractive and eye-catching way that people will want to look at this event. And then you have to actually transport it to the place, which, unless it happens to be in your city of residence, you're going to have to pay for transportation there, and you're going to have to pay for a hotel. That starts to get real expensive. You have to like feel reasonably confident that you are going to sell most, if not all, of the things that you bring with you. And just the idea of doing that on like any kind of scale scares the heck out of me. Oh, and you have to be insured as well. You have to have public liability insurance in order to do it. That's another fee. So, monies. I only played a lot on my birthday. I won once, and I hold $68. Hell yeah! That's like 1/10 of a Switch 2. Congratulations. Rex says, I married someone in the film industry, and we still aren't rich. Like, A, your spouse's job is super cool. B, I think that's one of the things that I think people, also, hello, Sunshine, my moderator / spouse is in the chat. It's lovely to see you, my darling. I think a lot of people don't realize that, like, most of the people who have jobs in, like, the film industry, make, like, normal job revenue. Like, your income is not, you know, millions just because you work on films. Like, most of those jobs are normal jobs. Even people you've heard of are probably making normal job money, you know? Like, just because, like, even if somebody's an actor, just because you've seen them in a thing doesn't mean that they're, like, raking in gazillions of pounds or what have you. Oh, yeah, exactly. Rex says only about 15% of SAG members earn enough annually to qualify for SAG health insurance. Good lord. That just goes to show. I feel like, I don't know for sure. I suppose it depends on what branch of the work you're in as well, but also some of the work is definitely going to be, it's not always necessarily the steadiest. Like, you're not always, you know, if it's like a project and that project runs for 3 months, you might have a gap before your next project starts, depending on what kind of work you're doing. I have a friend who's a script supervisor, and she's doing fine, but, you know, she's a script supervisor. Script supervisor is a normal job's amount of money. It's a neat job, and I'm mildly jealous, because I think it sounds like a neat job, but, you know, it's also not vast amounts of money. In fact, actually, I would say in the UK, one of the barriers to entry for working in the film industry is that it is hard enough for a lot of people to, you know, be able to actually earn enough money to work in the film industry that it's hard to get into as an industry if you don't come from generational wealth. Because chances are the entry-level work that you might be doing is not very paid. And as pointed out by Rex here, it's a gig basis. He says, my wife works like a few days to a week per year. If she got a 3-month gig, it would be amazing. Stunts is well paid. Ooh, hell yeah. But yeah, exactly. It's one of those things where, like, if you're working on a production for an amount of time, so I actually, you know what? This has unlocked a memory. I worked in the film industry for, a few months. I had 3 gigs in that time period, and each of them lasted a day. And it was fine and fun, but it's not something, it was eventually something that I had to abandon, and oh boy, was my agent pissed when I hadn't heard from them in about 2 months, and the agency rang up and was like, hey, so, we have a gig for you. And I was like, shoot, I forgot that I had an agent because I haven't heard from you in so long. I moved cities and I won't be able to make it to this gig. I'm sure there's someone else on your books who would be happy to book it. I should probably leave the agency. But thank you! And they were, like, so so mad. Which, fair enough. I probably should have let them know, like, as soon as I moved, that, hey, I'm moving to another city and I'm going to be out of commutable range for any of the gigs that you're likely to book. But, genuinely, in the many months that I had this agent, I booked 3 gigs, and each gig lasted a day, and I think I got paid, now this is going back, like, 10, 12 years, but I think I was making about 120 pounds a day, which is not a terrible amount to earn per day if you're working 4 to 5 days a week. If you're working once every month or two, that's not a sustainable gig, but also, you know, if you're gonna have to have another job, but also you're potentially gonna have to have another job where you're able to say, hey, so I can't come in today because my other job needs me, and they have to be cool with that. Not a lot of people are going to be able to do that. So again, it's something where I feel like you maybe have to have a relative amount of privilege in order to just sort of like wander off and do that. It was fun though. The few jobs that I was able to do were very fun. Yes. Archon says entry-level work being sub-living wage is a feature, not a bug. Yes, wholeheartedly agree. Absolutely it is. And it is rough. It is rough. Like, listen, when I first moved to this country, I wanted to get into specifically the film and television industry. I was applying left, right, and center for entry-level jobs in the film and television industry that paid absolutely gosh damn peanuts. I ate through my life savings in the space of a year paying rent because I could not find a job. And even if I had found a job, I would have lost money doing it. And that's why I now have a day job in higher education. Because at least I can pay my rent. Anyways. Yes. Anyways. Yeah, Rex says, that's why I'm a machinist instead of a graphic designer. That sounds like a fun job too, though. But yes, what was I saying? That's pretty standard pay for an extra right now, says Rex. I don't know about crew and what's it, mostly camera-facing roles. Damn! It's nice knowing that it hasn't adjusted for inflation. Holy crap, that's so depressing. So this is an entire industry built around only people from privileged backgrounds having access. That could never happen under capitalism, which is definitely a system built around pure meritocracy. I feel like it's actually, here in the UK, I think it's actually honestly gotten worse over the last few years. Certainly for writing for like film and television and like that the whole broadcast industry, the barriers to entry have just gone up. Like, there are certain, like, opportunities to, like, the BBC has this, like, writer's room program where you can enter, like, you send in an example script during their sort of submission program, and they have a number of different themed ones throughout the year. And if you get selected, you get to go on, like, a series of workshops and, you know, do all and get, like, advice from, you know, sort of, like, seasoned producers and that kind of thing on, like, you know, how to get into the industry. And, you know, if something that you've done really impresses, it might even go on to get workshopped into something that gets made, but that's super unlikely. But even then, that's like, okay, well, I've won an opportunity to go on a course that doesn't directly lead into real work. Great. Fantastic. But also, there have been a number of programs on TV and radio that have been canceled over the last few years that were like the kind of, you know, sort of the kind of less prestige programming, but still like important and widely consumed, that had tended to be like sort of an entry level ground for new writers to get credits onto their CV to say, you know, like, I've written 3 episodes of this show, or this, you know, I've written a couple sketches for this radio program, that kind of thing. And then you can put that on your CV, you get to know people, and from there you're able to find additional work, hopefully, if that's what you want to do. But several of these have been canceled over the last few years, which means that how do you get your foot in the door as a writer? I don't know. I guess daddy and mummy know people, and that's about it. It's just so, like, it's even more sort of class gated now than it was before. So I've honestly kind of given up on a lot of my dreams because I'm like, well, what's the point? You know, like that half-written screenplay that I've got, no one's ever gonna make that, so why bother? I feel like I potentially still have there's the possibility that I might be able to finish a novel and publish it. Even if nobody wants to publish it, I can self-publish it, and 4 people will buy it as an ebook, but at least that'll be something. Anyways, that got bleak. Sorry for the politic ew. Hello, Joe. How's the painting going? I haven't painted anything because we've just been talking. They have a brush in hand, technically painting. The brush is not wet. I haven't painted anything. Anyways, Rex says, it is possible. We got him by random champ. Your skills earn your keep, but you need luck to meet the right person that gives you a chance. Art stream equals just chatting, says Pickles always. That is absolutely true. This is this is one of the things that I find really difficult as a the meeting the right people and networking and all that is something that I have real problems and issues with. Partially because, like, I remember when I was in the academic side of academia, I had someone who was like, I was, how shall I say? I was submitting an abstract to speak at a conference, and because I was an undergraduate at the time, I had to get, like, a professor to sign off on my abstract before submitting, and the professor that I asked to sign off on it, I had just expected that she was just going to look at it and be like, okay, yeah, that's fine. Because I'd already spoken at, like, I think 1 or 2 conferences at this point, so it was like, it was not a new experience for me. But she was like, oh, you know, you should probably change it to, like, cite, you know, one of the works of the, like, conference organizer. And I'm just like, I don't feel like, I feel like it's going to be fairly transparent if I, like, cite this person's work because I know that they're running the conference. That's obviously I'm trying to butter them up. I don't like that. It feels disingenuous, even if I do think that their work is good, and I did think their work was good. It feels disingenuous to, like, I don't know, manipulate them in that way. And she's like, well, you have to play the game. And as soon as she said you have to play the game, I'm like, okay, I give up. I don't want to do this. I didn't know for sure that I was autistic at the time. But I feel like an unwillingness to play games when it comes to things like networking and, like, professional gubbins, I feel like this is something that is probably maybe more common amongst people with my flavor of brain, but I don't know. But it's just that kind of thing just made me so uncomfortable, you know? Because I personally, when I realize that I'm being manipulated by someone, and oftentimes it's belatedly that I realize someone's manipulating me because I'm not always good at reading that, I feel betrayed and upset. If I feel like you're only befriending me because you want something, as opposed to you have a genuine interest in me as a human being, like, I'm out. No. And I definitely don't want to do that to other people. I don't want to pretend that I want to make friends with somebody just because they have, like, a professional connection that I would find useful. That feels gross and manipulative and nasty, and I don't want to be that kind of person. And I realize that, to be honest, most networking isn't that. Most networking is genuinely just, like, making friends with people, and in fact, I have benefited from that kind of networking before, where I just happened to have a friend who happened to be a journalist, who happened to know the editor of this publication, and was like, hey, I have a friend who'd be a great writer for your publication, and that's how I got a job, because my friend happened to recommend me to someone that he knew. That's great, but I don't know how to cultivate that in a less organic way in order to enter an industry that I'm not already connected to, you know? No! And to be, I used to have friends, like, more friends in sort of the TV and film industry, most of whom I've just severed the bridges of because of a few incidents of people when I was younger and single who were like, oh my goodness, that person looks like a woman. I'm gonna be weird about it. And that was a bad time. So I just decided to deliberately lose a bunch of friendships over that. Because, anyways, I love my just chatting stream, says Maggie. Hell yeah. I say we because I followed my wife into the industry, says Rex. She is much more successful so far, though. She is SAG, she is a stunt double, which is so cool! I've only worked on a couple things, but I still consider myself an amateur. It's still really cool! Anyways, Cloak and Coffee says, I have a lot of issues with the schmoozing culture in most corporate environments. Yeah, it's just, I think the thing about schmoozing is that it rewards... I certainly think that it rewards people who are more naturally extroverted, as well. Like, if you're the kind of person who's like, everyone else in the office is going for, like, drinks after work on a Friday night, but to be honest, your social battery is just drained from having done your job. You want to stay in your lane and just not engage with, like, work people outside of your job. And you end up getting a reputation for being someone who, say, isn't a team player, or nobody knows anything about you, so they don't like you as much, yada, yada, yada. It's just, it feels bad. It feels bad, and it doesn't seem fair, you know? Popular equals competence, says Cloak and Coffee. No, it doesn't. No, it does not. Absolutely. And as I get to be perfectly honest, like when I was in my 20s, I was much more likely to do sort of like networking-y stuff outside of my job. Because I had more energy to be social. And so I would go and do social things with my coworkers more than I would be likely to do now as like a 40-something who's married and, has a reasonably comfortable home life. That gives me most of my social needs outside. Most of my social needs, I'm very happy to get outside of my job, actually. So I wouldn't feel the need to, like, go out to drinks with my coworkers at the end of the day, because at the end of the day, I want to go home and see my partner. Because I haven't seen them all day, and I love them, and I want to hang out with them. So, that's kind of a tricky thing for me. And I say this as someone who has rarely been in a workplace where I get along so poorly with my coworkers that I genuinely don't even want to interact with them at work. I did have, like, one job like that, and I rage quit within a month. Because I was like, no, all of these people have decided they hate me, so I'm gonna just leave. And that was the right decision. All right, we are painting in a very, very teeny tiny, unreadably teensy-weensy tube map here. Networking feels gross, says Archon. Yeah, I've seen people basically describe it as like, don't think of it as networking, just think of it as making friends. But I think the thing for me about making friends is that most of the friends that I've made, has not been in like a deliberate, I'm trying to make friends in this scene or this industry kind of way, and has just sort of organically emerged around, I happened to meet these people, and we decided to continue talking to each other. Ta-da! Like, I don't know. I don't know how to... Force isn't exactly the word. I don't know how to force that, but I don't know how to, like... to actually put an effort into doing that, as opposed to, like, it just kind of happens. There are, I mean, even more recently, there have been people like, people online where I'm like, I feel like it would be really good to become friends with this person. This is someone I feel like I could sort of like, be on a similar wavelength to, or like, sort of creatively similar, like a possible future collaboration partner, or someone I could bounce ideas off of. This is someone I would like to be friends with because for some reason I think that being friends with them would be useful and cool. And I don't know how to do that either. Because even making friends with someone that technically you're mutuals with on, like, Twitter can be weirdly hard. Because it's like, okay, so what are the strategies for making friends with a person? Reach out to them by replying to things that they say on their social media account. Well, congratulations, they liked your reply, but that hasn't led to a friendship, Or, then there's all of the pitfalls of replying to people's posts, but in a way that it turns out makes you annoying and they don't want to be friends with you. And there's a lot of faux pas about replying to people's posts, Oh, biddle boy. There are definitely some of them that annoy me, but there was a comedian who made, like, a list of, like, all of the different type of reply guys that she gets in her replies when she posts something on social media. And the list was so exhaustive that I was just like, so the lesson I'm getting from this is never speak to anyone ever, because there's too good of a chance that I'll be perceived as one of these types of annoying people. And then my attempt at having made, like, a human connection and make a friend will have failed. And instead I'll just be cringe and terrible and they hate me. And then they'll block me and we'll never become friends. Oh no. So, you know, how the hell do you make friends then? I don't know. Yay! But then I think friendship is also a really weird thing these days, because there are a lot of people who I consider friends with, that I'm friends with, but I never really speak to. Like, we don't speak to each other, we just like each other's social media posts. But we're still friends, we don't talk, we just like each other's social media posts. Is that a friendship? I don't know. I honestly don't know anymore. Yay! Making friends is harder than networking, says Rex. Oh god, I'm much more capable of approaching a stranger to present my skills and abilities than I am approaching someone to get them to like me as a person. Ah! See, I feel like I have to be likable as a person because my skills and abilities are all kind of mid. So, the only thing I have to offer is like, hi, I'm whimsical. You'll find me fun and amusing for a little while, and then you'll realize when I get comfortable being around you that I'm not actually just whimsical. I'm also just like neurodivergent, and then you'll find me off-putting and weird. But before that, we could be friends. Anyways, Pickle says 2026 goal, befriend Sammy. Aww, thank you. You know, the fact that you've said that means we're friends now. I think. Does it? Only if that makes you uncomfortable, then we don't have to be friends. I don't know. Anyways, never talk to anyone isn't the worst goal, says Archon. I mean, literally, it's my job to talk to people, like, several days a week, over the internet. So, I mean, at least I'm used to it from this perspective, but it's kind of more like I'm talking at you and then you can type replies to me. So it's not quite the same thing as just going up to someone at a party and being like, hey, so, you like French New Wave cinema? Me too. And then you realize they've seen that their favorite movie is one that you haven't seen and you can't comment on, and they lose interest in you. Anyways, Cloak and Coffee says, funny how the most popular people aren't always the loudest or flashiest. They're just genuinely curious about others. Like, they actually care about what you're into. That's the real secret. Ah. See, that's the thing. I have no natural curiosity. Maybe that ruins it. No, I'm kidding. I think that's definitely true. I used to work as a journalista, and I did really love getting to interview people. But the thing is that, especially if I've just had a really long, really interesting interview with someone, I'm like, oh man, this person's so interesting. I wish we could be friends now. And then we don't be, because I'm doing my job. Oh well. But I considered, I had an hour of friendship with that person, and it was really fun. But yeah, that's definitely a good point. Samantha says the autistic struggle of not knowing if you are allowed to consider the other person a friend yet. Oh my god, yes. It's like, what, like, I think we're friends, but what if they're just a person I know? But just saying, like, this person I'm going to go get coffee with this person I know and regularly get coffee with and have done for the last 5 years. Are we friends? Can I say that? Or will they be weird about it? I don't know. I think we are friends, says Maggie. I think we are too. But that was the goal for 2026. We can't be friends yet. It's 2025. Okay, in 5 months, can we be friends? Let me know. Keep me posted. Archon says, neurodivergence be like, I know we've been married for 30 years, but do you like me? The number of times I do have to be reassured by my spouse that he does still like me is a non-zero amount. We've been married for over 10 years. Joe says, me, talk to person on the internet, and they reply, they are my friend now. Yep, exactly. Just you realize you were spooky Sammy today. Yeah, I was feeling the vibes. I'm feeling a little haunted, I guess. Pickle says, yes, please, can't wait to smash that goal the first day of 2026. I'm looking forward to it. My person I know. You can't be too sure, says Cloak and Coffee. I always think it's worth reiterating these things. I mean, it's part of the reason that, like, I tell my partner I love them, like, multiple times a day. Like, we could take it as read at this point that, you know, I've been happily married to them for over a decade. We've been together even longer than that. Like, of course I do. Of course I love them. But you know what? I'm going to keep telling them that because I don't want them to forget it. So I think it's important to reiterate on a very regular basis. You know? Just in case. I know there are some people who are very not very open about, you know, sort of like using the love word even in like a solid relationship they've been in for years. It could not be me. Could not be me. I am very, if we are in love, I will be telling you on a several times a day basis how much I love you, because it's important. And I think the act of doing that is not just reiterating. It is an action in and of itself. It is the act of loving someone by saying it, and then, you know, having the other things that you do in your life reiterate that in non-verbal ways as well, like, you know, buying them a treat from the shop because you saw it and you're like, oh, they like that thing, so you buy them the thing and then you bring them the thing. It's just nice. Reinforcement is important, says Joe. Yes, exactly. By the way, chat, you're all breathtaking. I've been listening to you in the background, says Joe, and didn't actually clock the stream. Heck, well, I'm here. Thank you for the hydrate, Pickles. I shall take a sip of my strawberry pomegranate tea. I constantly tell my husband I love him, says Maggie. I have a crush on him. Think he's pretty at least like 5 times a day. Yes, absolutely. Also, if anyone thinks that you have that, like, you know, being in like a long-term relationship doesn't mean you don't still have a crush on that person. Oh, biddle boy, I definitely have a crush on my partner. Ooh. We've got a shrimp check from Joe. Thank you very much. Okay, so Cloak and Coffee wants to know more about coffee. Sweet. Okay. I will tell you about the coffee that I was drinking today. It was a blend. I think, I don't know. Do y'all have, unless you have like a specific question you want to ask about coffee, otherwise I'll just waffle. But I can do either. Ow. Please breakfast food, aka waffle. Okay, rad. Do we think that there is, I kind of wonder about this sometimes. Is there like a stratum of value judgment between coffee that is a blend versus coffee that is like a single origin? Because I think a lot of the time when I buy coffee, I like buying single origin coffees because I'm interested in seeing the ways in which you can taste, you know, the unique characteristics of the varietal of coffee bean, the land on which it was grown, the process that it went through after being harvested, and how all of these things come together to create a unique flavor profile. And I think a lot of blends, especially a lot of easy drinking blends, shall we say, are blended in a way to create something that has like a consistency and a very universally belovable profile. But that's not to say that there aren't interesting things being done in the world of blends as well. You know, like a lot of the coffee that you get sort of out and about at like a chain coffee shop, espresso, that kind of thing, is probably a blend. They're probably blending together beans from various different origins to create a consistent result that tastes as generically like what you expect a cup of coffee to taste as possible. And so I think that's kind of what's in my mind when I'm shopping for new coffees. When I think of a blend, I'm just like, is this going to be just an easy coffee but not particularly interesting because they've kind of blended out the more different characteristics. But that's not always the case. Sometimes you can do blends specifically with producing something interesting in mind. And that's not to say that there's anything wrong with a blend that is created specifically to be an easy drinking coffee as well. Like one of my favorite coffees is like the like I like a good house blend from a good coffee roaster, even though I know it tastes like a cup of coffee. It's not going to be anything challenging, sometimes I want the comfort food coffee, you know what I mean? And if it's from a good roastery, it's going to be a very good comfort food coffee. But you can also produce things depending on what is in what you've put together in the blend, you can produce things that are quite interesting. You can take a natural processed coffee, which tends to have a little bit more of like a fruity funkiness, with a washed coffee that tends to have a cleaner flavor. And you can combine those two to create something that has the best of both of those worlds, which can be quite interesting. It's got a little bit of that fruitiness and funk, but it's also got a little bit of that sort of like clean, sparkling flavors. So for instance, oh heck, excuse me. Like the one that I was drinking today, it's a blend. It is a blend of coffees from Colombia and Ethiopia, and if you're familiar with Colombian and Ethiopian coffees generally, they're pretty different. One of which is washed, one of which is natural process, and so it has that like it's got this like overriding caramel taste, but also it's got the ads are about to run. Let me just defer that for a minute because I'm not done. But so it's got this like overriding sort of caramelness to it, but there's also this like fruity funkiness that leans into like the website, which I've got up right now, describes it as caramel, green tea, and blueberry, and I think that's fairly spot on for me, though I would have described the berryness as more of sort of like a berry medley. Like, I'm getting just sort of, like, berries of some description. But very much like caramel and berries. Which is an interesting range of flavors, and green tea is an interesting range of flavors for a blend. So they've taken two very interesting single origin coffees and swirled them together into something that is even more interesting, instead of taking two single origin coffees and swirling them together into something that tastes as generically of a cup of coffee as you can imagine, because you want something that's, fairly consistent. So I think that's neat. How do you feel about the various flavor infusions? Oh man, so I haven't messed with this too much because they tend to be expensive. But I think it's a really interesting idea. Are you talking about like flavored coffee beans where they, just for clarity, are we talking about the kind of flavored coffee beans where they take like a flavor like vanilla or something, and I think basically just sort of mist it over the coffee beans and then you have like vanilla flavored coffee? Or are we talking about like, we have fermented these coffee cherries with wine yeast? Because there's flavored coffees in terms of like, they take, like taking coffee beans and flavoring them with things like, sort of hazelnut flavoring or vanilla flavoring, or I saw banana cream once. Actually, no, I tried banana cream. I did not like it. It was bizarre. Do not recommend. Adding the flavor to the base bean as part of the brew. I do not prefer that compared to Archon throws orange peels in his cold brew. That sounds amazing and delicious. I would rather take like a just straight ahead coffee bean and then add, say, like, a few months ago I bought myself a big bottle of orgeat syrup because I was like, I like the way that sort of like a florally almond taste would pair with certain coffees as like an iced coffee beverage. I think that'd be really nice. So I bought that so I could make myself sort of like almond flour coffees. It was really nice. Or things like, adding caramel to it or vanilla, that kind of thing. I would much rather use like a flavored syrup or another flavor ingredient, like infusing spices into like a cup of brewed coffee, than something where like the bean has been flavored with like hazelnut flavoring and that kind of thing. That's a personal preference for me. I think you get more control over how the finished product ends up tasting, but, you know, like, also, like, a vanilla flavored coffee, sure, why not? Why not? But that being said, there is also a thing that's been going on in the world of specialty coffee that's very expensive sometimes, but I think it's fascinating, where they add additional ingredients to, like, the fermentation stage of the coffee bean. I've seen using, like, the yeast from winemaking being added to the coffee beans. I have not tried this yet. I think it would create a very funky fermented flavor in your drink. But also I've seen adding different types of fruits, like oranges or something, but at the fermentation stage of the coffee bean, so before it's been roasted. And letting, or strawberries, I think I've seen strawberries as well being added in this process, which in that way imparts new and different tasting notes and flavors to the coffee bean because it's been fermented with it. But I don't know if it's necessarily, it's not flavored in the same way that, like, adding vanilla syrup is, because, like, it's part of the fermentation, so it's gonna change the tasting notes of the coffee, but not necessarily in the way that you might predict. It's really interesting as a new and different thing that they've been doing. But I haven't tried a lot of them because A, some of them intimidate me, and B, they tend to be like 20 pounds a box instead of like 12, and I'm poor, so. But once I've tried one, I will come back and let you know what I think, because it is one of the things that I would like to do. It is not, I have to run ads now, so I'll be back in a minute. Holidays are coming, says Cloak Coffee. That is true. That is very true. But so are ads, unfortunately. Enjoy the BRB screen in the meantime. I'll see you very shortly. BRB, everyone. Oh, thank goodness, I'm back. Hi, everybody. Thank you for sticking around if you have. If you left because you hate ads, I wholeheartedly understand, and I still love you. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to me. Some discussion in the chat around treating yourself, and I wholeheartedly agree. I treated myself to a little birthday gift. But it's thanks to the unique way that Etsy's global shipping service works, it still hasn't arrived. I ordered it like a month and a half ago, and since the the shipping has just paused at the 25th of July. And I haven't had any further updates since then, but apparently the shipping service is quite normal for that. I will show you what I got when it gets here. I'm very excited. It's an earring. Because I have an ear piercing, and I used to wear interesting earrings from time to time, and for the last, like, God knows how many years, since I guess since I've been growing my hair out, I've just been wearing, like, the standard sort of little hoop that is the kind that I got when I got my ear pierced a gazillion years ago. It is in the gay ear, obviously, but I do always buy myself a birthday gift and a Christmas gift every year, because I do agree. I think it's important and good. Yeah, Cloak and Coffee says I always gift myself something once a year. To warm the soul. Last year was a full-length winter cloak, wore it all season. Oh, that's lovely, and I love that for you. Cassie says the most important thing about coffee, as far as I'm concerned, is to never drink it, only smell it. I mean, it does smell damn good, but I will drink it on your behalf because I like to taste it as well. My moderator / spouse has just come home, so I'm going to go and give him a big hug. I'll be back in a second. Sunshine.
I'm taking the box out. I haven't got your present.
Lemon tea.
Do you want to stick it in the fridge or do you want it now?
Fridge. I have 3 cups of tea. Hi, my love. Welcome home. I'm glad you're here. Are you okay? How was your day? Are you good? Okay, good. I love you so much. Thank you. Hello. To catch up with chat, Cassia says I buy myself a birthday gift and a Valentine's gift. Oh, I love that. Very important. Self-love is important, and so are trinkets. Sometimes you just gotta get yourself little bits. I wholeheartedly agree. Cloak and Coffee says, mine is usually a fall/winter gift, as that's when the sales are going. Oh, I do love sales. I do. My birthday is crucially around Easter. So much chocolate, says Casa. Oh, that's nice. My birthday is crucially usually somewhere in the vicinity of a bank holiday, which I do appreciate as well. It's not always quite on the same weekend, but it's close enough that I feel like sometimes I can kind of roll it in. Any hoosins. I'm gonna actually try and paint in. This is gonna be tough. But I'm going to try and paint in. I think this is a tube map, but it's really hard to tell because this is what it looks like when you zoom in on the photo that I've been using as a reference. It's just a blur. And it's all kind of shades of brownish. So I've pulled up bits of a tube map, and I'm just going to try and draw in some lines that hopefully at this scale look like they could conceivably be part of the tube map, with immense apologies to Harry Beck. Goodness gracious, the full tube map is. I'm not going to be able to get this much information onto here because there's so many lines. I love the tube map. There's so much detail there. Clear as a bell. Not being sarcastic at all, says Cloak and Coffee. Ah, jeez, I gotta go to the eye doctor, I guess. I mean, I do want to try and get, plenty of detail into here, but I don't want to put so much detail on here that it all just completely goes missing. It's been so long since I actually put this paint on the palette that my brush completely dried out. And I am just going to use this sort of like sepia-looking brown because, to be honest, the color seems to have disappeared. Which makes sense because it's blue hour. And there's just not a lot of light to be had at this point. Okay, so got a lot of. Oh my God! There's so many lines. How am I gonna do this? There's another one that goes like here, and then there's one that goes kind of like do it this way, and then there's oh man, this is really hard. This one that goes down like that. Oh boy, this is not gonna be a recognizable tube map at all by the time I'm done. I'm trying to get at least some of these in ways that make some semblance of sense, if I can. And some little branch lines out there. There's one here that kind of connects down to there, like so. And then there's crisscrossing through down. Okay, this is extremely inaccurate for a tube map, but it looks like there's some lines on there. Pickle, thank you so much for the hydrate. I needs it. I do indeed. Thank you. Okay. We need the little legend right at the very bottom to tell us which line is which as well. Well, maybe this is, I don't know, maybe this is a different iteration of the map because maybe this is set in a different decade and they've amended the map. So this is what the tube looks like now. I don't know. Anyways, hi Sunshine.
Assuming the fan is exactly the same as the other fan.
The fan is pretty much exactly the same as the other fan. Oh yeah, that's the other thing that happened to us this weekend is that one of our electric fans kicked the bucket, which was real scary. Because it's very humid here in the UK, and oh biddle boy, do I need a fan in order to sleep. But we were in the center of town yesterday, and I was trying to buy a fan, and it was challenging, to say the least. Pickles has redeemed a Tell Me More About Tea. What do you want to know about tea, my friend? Do you have a question, or do you want me to just wax poetical about tea? Because I can do either. Actually, I'm gonna take 2 sips. I've had a sip of the strawberry pomegranate. I'm gonna have a sip of my Hello Kitty tea. Pickle says, I just enjoy hearing you yap about stuff you're passionate about. Oh, sweet. Do you wanna hear about one of my favorite kinds of tea? I can tell you about one of my favorite kinds of tea. Alright. Oolong tea is wacky. So if you're familiar with like the tea leaf, the one that goes in like Yorkshire tea, PG tips, or that kind of thing, you'll know that there's black tea, which is the most oxidized of the teas. There's green tea, which is the not oxidized, and in between the two is oolong. And because oolong exists between the two, there are different gradations of oolong in terms of how oxidized it is, and it can vary greatly in terms of the kind of flavor that you get depending on how oxidized the oolong tea. A very lightly oxidized oolong tea can be quite light and delicate and yield like a pale yellow liquid, that's more similar to a green tea than a black tea. And then you get other ones that get sort of, once you get into sort of the darker browns of the oolong tea, you get teas that, are closer in nature to black tea. So there's the range of different like flavor profiles that you get from oolong tea is pretty wide ranging because of this. But as like the in-between tea category, so there's this one specific type of oolong tea called milk oolong. And there are different types of and grades of oolong tea, but of milk oolong tea, but basically the feature of milk oolong tea, it's not meant to be taken with milk because it's a greener oolong tea. So it's a very light, delicate, you expect that the tea itself when it's made is going to be like a very light yellow in color. But one of the things that's really cool about these kinds of oolong teas, like the lighter green oolong teas, is that you can rebrew them multiple times. Like you can brew the same leaves like 4 or 5 times and still get a really nice cup of tea out of it with really interesting flavors and tasting notes. But milk oolong in particular has this lovely sort of flavor note of, it's like sweet and it does have a slightly creamy mouthfeel to it. Just in and of itself, just like the variety of tea, the way it's grown, the way it's processed, produces this tea that has this wonderful sort of like slightly sweet, slightly creamy flavor mouthfeel to it. It's fun. I love a milk oolong. I find it very easy to drink, very comforting, and indeed you can steep the same leaves like a couple times. Also, the way that the sort of this type of oolong tea is made, the leaves, when they unfurl as they brew, you get this small little sort of leafy pellets, but it's a whole leaf. So as it brews, it's just sort of like, it becomes this big old leaf. It's like that big. It's just a leaf. Amazing. I love it. Mouthfeel. Yep. And I wouldn't necessarily say don't try these ones, but some milk oolong teas will have like natural or artificial flavoring added to them because the base tea doesn't really have much in the way of that sweetness or creamy mouthfeel in and of itself, so they add flavoring to it to give it that. These are, like the cheaper milk oolong teas, the one that's maybe a lower grade of tea. It's still going to be a nice experience, but just bear in mind that it's not as pure. But like I'll still drink it. But just know that like there are milk oolong teas that are just taste like that in and of themselves, and there are less expensive milk oolong teas that have flavor added to it to give them a similar flavor profile to those teas. Now you know, and knowing is half the battle. G.I. Joe. Archon says tea is very complex. I am judging if I ask what tea you want and you say black. I no longer do, but I think that's because I live in the UK, and most people, if they just say, if someone says like cup of tea, 99.99999 times out of 10 they mean like a tea bag with hot water on it. And I have come to understand this as a tea enjoyer. If cup of tea means something other than just that, we're gonna get more specific from the outset. But I also do enjoy just like a PG Tips or whatever. Sometimes I just want like a builder's tea, Again, it's the comfort food tea, right? And I definitely I enjoy that as well. So anyways, Pickle says, now I have to think about that one guy in Bob's Burgers that says exceptional mouthfeel in a very intense and creepy voice. Oh no. I've just linked to my YouTube channel in the chat, by the way. I have a YouTube channel. There's a video on my YouTube channel where I did a taste comparison of every single, like, standard British tea bag that I could purchase The conclusions that I arrived at were several, and I don't remember them. But it's an interesting video. And not to spoiler things, but I say interesting so many times in that video that I started to notice it. Do you say exceptional mouthfeel? I may well say the word mouthfeel, because mouthfeel definitely factors into my enjoyment of a cup of tea. But I don't think I said exceptional mouthfeel. Anyways, Joe says, whereas if I ask you if you want a cup of tea, on the understanding that you know I have a tea shelving unit and a huge selection. I mean, wait, I'm not done. I'm not finished. I'd forgotten about this one, but I've got 3 cups of tea going right now. I'm a beverage goblin. I feel that. I'm actually trying to deplete the amount of tea that we have in the house, because it takes up a lot of space. And I kind of seem to go on, like, binges where I drink, like, specific types of tea. Like, I'll be drinking a lot of green tea for a while, and then I'll be drinking a lot of herbal tea for a while, and then I'm like, no, you know what, I miss black tea, and I'll be drinking a lot of black teas for a while. You will not be getting PG tips unless I don't know you, says Joe. You know, that's fair. We need an interesting counter, says Pickles. Do I say it a lot, just, like, generally? I don't know. I genuinely don't. Okay, we've got a little, like, notice board thing over here. So I'm gonna... I feel bad that genuinely all I've painted today was that, and it's not very good. So I'm gonna real quickly pick up some of this dark... Is this dark brown? Let me just zoom way in. It's not... To be honest, I'm not even sure that this is dark brown. There's a... Okay, let me zoom out a bit. So there's like a framed notice board here, which is what I'm painting in now. But when I actually zoom in on that dark brown, it's not actually that dark. It looks dark in context, but it's not actually that like This, honestly, using these zoom way in on photo to like color pick what the various things need to be is brain breaking for me. It's genuinely brain breaking. To the point that I'm actually going to add a little bit of purple to this, and I'm also going to make it not be as dark as I thought it was going to. What the heck is going on? I'm also going to zoom out a bit, because I just... Okay. There was a little bead of water on my paintbrush. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to not accidentally paint over this little guy's head, because I've already painted in his hair. He looks real cute. Okay. This is so stupidly lil. Gonna add a little bit of blue to this color, actually, for the actual notice, because I think the notice looks like it's a little bit less brown. So, and I'm going to have the writing. I'm writing the writing from right to left, just because I don't accidentally want to paint over this little man's face. There we go. Okay, I have painted this tiny, incredibly tiny poster next to these teeny tiny little men's who just arrived at Park Royal Station. It's starting to come together. I feel like it's starting to come together, though, so I'm happy with that. Anyways. While I was on BRB, so I made a salad for tonight's dinner. It is a... I'm quite pumped about this salad. As pumped as one can be about a salad, I am. It is my beloved lentil salad, which we eat. I'm sorry for the shaky cam. We eat a reasonable amount of, especially during the summer months, because it's just so nice and warm and cozy. It's really good. Adding some yellow to this brown, because this wants to be a fairly bright brown, because I think it's quite illuminated from the inside of the station there. I'm just gonna plonk that there because it needs to go someplace. But it's the kind of salad, because it's got like lentils and crunchy veggies in it. It's the kind of salad that needs to like sit and marinate for a bit. Great. My photo app just crashed. Fantastic. Let me just get back to where I was before. Okay. So there's a little like door frame here. So I am zooming way in so I can isolate the color of the door frame and try and get a color that's close to that for it. This is the level of like stupid detail I'm going into in this piece. Is it necessary? No. Am I doing it anyways? Obviously. Is it fun? Hopefully. It is for me. I don't know about y'all. But anyways, yeah, so it's a marinated salad. So it's the kind of thing that you really need to, you set it in the fridge around lunchtime, and then you just kind of give it a bit of a stir every couple of hours to kind of integrate all of the flavors, let everything get to know each other, that kind of thing. Nice and delicious, right? Here's the thing, though. Here's the kicker. The mixing bowl that I mixed this up in is just a little bit too small for the amount of salad it makes, but it would be too little of an amount of salad to justify using the next size up mixing bowl that I have, which means that it is a little bit of a struggle trying to stir it up without having, you know, bits of like beans and vegetables going everywhere while I do. So that's what I was struggling with whilst we were on the break. So that was fun. Loved that for me. Okie dokie. All right, we've got a little. I'm gonna do a little sort of like entranceway, as if there's like it's a little like door that's opened here. Opens inwards to the inside of the station. Can you see this one? Maybe you can kind of see it on this side. That's a little bit more faint. Like that. Okie dokie. Getting somewhere. We're making progress somehow. I don't know. Anyways. But yeah, so that was a bit of a struggle. But hopefully the salad will be good. It usually is. And that's nice. Anywho. Okay, there's also, like, you can kind of just about see, like, a ticket machine or something in there, which is also kind of that color. Everything is kind of this color. At this time of night, apparently. So that will be what it will be. So I think I might just how do I want to make that color? Just add a little bit of this ochre color to it. I didn't introduce the paints that we're using today. We've just been chatting so much. I'm using the 1930 set from Choosing Keeping, which is a set of Japanese watercolors. Japanese watercolors, also known as gansai. And these are supposed to be evocative of like the 1930s for some reason. I just think it's a really nice palette for painting scenes at this time of day, but also thematically appropriately, this station was built in 1931 or 1932. I say 31 or 32 because I don't remember which one it was. Yay! All right. But that's that. And this. Okay. So somewhere towards sort of the back of the... It's like a wall here, and there's some little ticket machines on this wall back here. You can't really see them super well because we're getting kind of off in the distance, but you can tell there's something inside there, and that's the important thing. There's you can't really see much inside this window, but there is a window. There's like a window frame here. So let me give a nice thick zoom onto the window frame if I can and see what color is that. That color has a lot. It's very blurry, and it's hard to zoom in on, but it's kind of, surprise, it's brown. Wow. So much brown in this. Okay. All right. Well, let me pick up some more of a shade of brown then, and we'll make it be a brown. This is a little bit of a cooler brown. Why don't I just pour some of that into it? Okay, I think that'll do. Anyways, so I'm going to get a little framey frame onto this window. Nice. There are some details that I've missed out in this scene, just because I felt like if I added every single detail that is like IRL in this scene, it's gonna be too detailed, it's gonna be too busy, and it's actually gonna feel, I think, uglier and worse. So I elected to not do that, and I hope that you won't be mad at me for doing that. Because I honestly think it's probably better that I don't. I hope. Okay, there's also a little notice on this window, so I'm gonna try and channel that color, which is it's a weird color from the looks of it. So I'm just mixing together a little bit of this sort of yellowy brown with a little bit of this dark blue, because it's almost looks greenish in comparison, but I'm sure if I zoom way in, it really isn't. It's probably just, yeah, it's just yellow, but it is a slightly greenish yellow, actually. It's a slightly greenish yellow, go figure. So I can create that. I can create a slightly greenish yellow. Anyways, programming note, in a couple weeks, I will be missing some streams because I will be in the Netherlands for a few days. So apologies in advance for that. I'll try and bring back something nice. I'll bring back some chocolate sprinkles, maybe? Maybe I'll bring back some chocolate sprinkles. I'm going to take a sip of my tea because my throat has just fully, like, gone. Heck, sorry about that. Okay. But yes, now let me, okay, what is, okay, this has been, so this bit here, there's like some darkness up here, and I can't tell what color that is. So again, the best way to find out is just to zoom right in, and it's kind of a dark blue gradienting into like a brownish purple. How the flip am I gonna, I think I'm just gonna kind of extrapolate that into using just like a dark blue, I think. Or maybe just mixing together a dark blue and a purple to try and create it. Because I think that the dark blue is a little bit too just sort of gray in and of itself. If I use both of these and water it down a smidge, I might be able to get something close to that. And hope that it gives the vibe that I'm trying to get from it. Okay, I need a quite thick, wet amount of this paint, I think, to do it. Will this look right? Oh, okay. Well, I just put some paint on a bit that I didn't mean to paint onto, so I'm going to get some tissue and just blot that right up, like a champ. But hey, thank you for hanging out during, Sammy wasn't sure they were going to be able to paint today because they were having weird hand tremors earlier hours. The good news is that the tremor seems to be gone, which means I can paint now. The bad news is stream will be over in a few minutes. Oh no. But thank you for hanging out with me anyways, even though this has mostly been just like Sammy talks to you stream. Like more so than usual, this has been a very Sammy talks to you stream. And don't get me wrong, I love talking with you guys. I love learning things about y'all and sharing things about myself with y'all and exploring questions together and doing all kinds of fun stuff. But that looks all right. Kobe says, oh man, I wait for Sammy doesn't know if she can paint because she's having weird hand tremors every year and I always miss it. Yay, you made it this time. Congratulations. Also, hi, how are you doing? It's wonderful to see you. Welcome on it. And I'm really sorry. My hand is more or less steady now, at least. But that was certainly... It was certainly an incident. Not incident isn't quite the right word I'm looking for. Oh man, this is also blue. So looking at the top of the tower thing, this part here, so there's like a lighter bit that's being lit, I think, by these roundels sort of from underneath, because that's like the underside of it, and then the bit that's kind of facing outwards. It's like, what color is this? What color is it? It's super dark blue. Wow. Color theory is stupid. I love it so much. I do. It's just, it's stupid and dumb and I love it. that probably sounds like a weird way to profess my love, but listen, it's true. It's true, okay? Color theory is stupid and dumb, and I love it. Okay. Ooh, yeah, that's working. That's working for me. I like that. That's nice. Good. Good job, me. Sometimes it feels bad when I'm actually speaking in like I don't like to self-deprecate too heavily on stream. Sometimes I do fall into it. It's a bad habit to fall into, and I know sometimes I do, and I wish I wouldn't so much. But sometimes I also don't want to be too self-congratulatory on stream, because I don't want people to come away from stream being like, man, what a freaking ego on that person. Like, what's their deal? Why do they think they're so great? And it's like, no, I don't. But sometimes I'll do something and I'll be like, that thing I was hoping to achieve, I achieved that, and I feel good about it. And it's okay to say that. Color theory in a nutshell, says Archon, human brains are heckin' weird. Yep, absolutely, 100%. That's why we've been doing this, this experiment with this piece, because instead of just looking at this reference photo of the station that I've drawn at the time of day that I wanted to capture with the naked eye and being like, okay, well, you know, like I know that this is gray and I know that this is brown and whatever. I've actually been going and being like, okay, what color in the context of this image is this specific element? Is that window gray? And then I zoom in and I'm like, oh, it's lavender? You know? Or like, you know, famous example, the pavement. I know the pavement is gray. I know the pavement is gray. My eyes look at this and they're like, that is a gray pavement. I zoom in on the pavement and what color do I see? That's yellow. Ah! My brain has exploded. Oh no, I was this week's red shirt. I'm dead now. Yay! Anyways, Samantha says, okay, but what if the reason Sammy thinks they're great is because they are. Hey! No, you! I am reverse carding the praise and deflecting it because I can. But thank you, that's very kind. Yes, anyways. Okay. I need to do some little signage-y bits here. I think I'm gonna start. I think I want this one over here to be. Now I realize I goofed because I think the signage for the post office is normally like red, and I did not make that red. I made it blue. But let's just pretend that this is a post office over here. Not this week's red shirt, says Maggie. Let's just pretend this. No, I'm not concerned about people being able to like read the text on these signs particularly, so I'm just gonna squiggle it in. But let's pretend that this is a post office that's closed for the night, okay? Samantha says, eventually we will bully you into making the Sammy must accept a compliment without deflecting redeem. Listen, it's not a case of me needing to bully me into it. It's a case of me remembering to do it once the stream is over, because my memory is bad. Especially when my attention is divided because I'm streaming, if I say to myself, okay, I have to remember to do this when stream is done, while I'm streaming, I will not remember when the stream is over, because I'll have gone through all of my post-stream stuff, and then the stream just kind of exits me. Unless something really notable happened on stream. A lot of the things that happen on stream just kind of leave my brain. I do have a VOD channel if you ever want to go back and cross-reference anything I've said in a stream, and the VOD like life cycle has ended here on Twitch. I put all of them on YouTube because like 2 people asked me if I would do it, and I said sure. I don't know why anyone would want to go back and watch VODs of these streams. But if you do, cool. I guess you could go if you wanted to see some speed paints with a lot of emphatic hand gestures in between the actual painting. You could go watch one of my stream VODs on, like, 20 times speed and watch me finish the painting real fast. Now you're just asking for the impossible, says Archon. Yep. Anyways. I'm gonna paint one more thing, and then we're gonna call it for today, I think. And you know what? I feel pretty good about the fact that, to be honest, I did anything today because there was a point at which I wasn't sure I was gonna. So, feeling reasonably good about that, actually, I think. I'm going to pull up some of this purple and some of the black tea, kurocha. And I'm going to create... This is a coffee shop. This is a coffee shop. So I'm going to very carefully attempt to put... It's already gone wrong. But you can just about see it says coffee. So you can tell it's a coffee shop. Hey. Oh no, Smith, does this mean one of Julian or Carrick is destined to die because they forgot to bring a sacrificial bread shirt on their away mission / date? No. No, they're fine. They're fine. This is unofficial business. This is unofficial business. They'll be okay. Partially because I don't want this story to feel sad. This is just a nice time that they're having, and everything's going to be okay. But you know what? They're going to go that way, because that way there's a Tim Hortons, and they'll get themselves some mediocre coffees and some donuts, and everything's going to be okay. That's the conclusion. I've just seen the time, so I think despite the fact that we got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8... 8 tiny things accomplished today, and I'm gonna have to finish this off stream, I guess. Hey, you know what? I had a fun time. I had a fun time hanging out with y'all. I really did. Thank you again to Sammy Ann and to Jam for the raids. Very much appreciated. And for everyone who hung out following those who came in on them, thank you so much for continuing to hang out with me. That's really cool, and you are all cool people to hang out with. I hope that you had a nice time. I'll be back on Thursday. I will not be arting. I will be plowing the fields of Mystria. Because the game updated a few weeks ago, and I want to see what's in the new update. And also the game is really fun, and I haven't had a chance to play it for a while, and I think we'll have a nice time. If you haven't seen any of this game, it's delightful. It's got kind of a Stardew Valley vibe, in as much as it's nominally like a farming sim in a similar way, but it's also very much its own thing. The characters are delightful. I don't remember what any of my character voices sound like, so be prepared for every character to sound different than they did last time. You'll be plowing the fields of Mystria, if you know what I mean, says Samantha. Yes, exactly. Exactly, yes. Things might get a little bit spicy. Anyways, I'm gonna see who's online. We can do a little bit of a raid on, shall we? I'm gonna see who. Shall we see if there's anyone online that I can do a little bit of a raid on? Maybe someone we haven't said hello to in a little while. I shall take a little look, see if I can get my computer to cooperate with me. That would be great. I'd appreciate that very much. Yay! It has decided to cooperate with me. Very much appreciated. Okay, Wizard. Let's see. Let me just make sure that... I like to try and raid not the same person every single time. But I don't think we've seen this person in a little while. So, I will send you in the direction of... And they're also doing art, which is super cool. Okay. Alright. I don't think they're just about to finish, but whomst knows? If I could get Twitch to cooperate with me. For some reason, once I get to like the let's raid stage, everything gets a little jank. But I think we'll be okay. Okay, they've like just started.
It's a great way to start a Monday. It's a great way to start a Monday. Magic burp. Got that.
Why is it unmuted? Stop. Okay. We are going into a raid. Hopefully. Computer's being real jank all of a sudden, so I honestly don't know whether or not that worked, but hopefully it has. I'm popping a raid message in chat. If you would like to copy the raid message on your way, that'd be super cool, but no pressure, obviously. If you have the emotes, feel free to grab it with the emotes. Otherwise, you can just say generic raid message and or append any cool emotes that you do have. It's all good. I'll be back on Thursday playing Fields of Mystria. I'm really looking forward to it. I hope to maybe see you again soon sometime. In the meantime, I hope you have a very good week. I thank you all for hanging out with me. I guess I'm finishing this off stream. Oops. Because I wanted to get it done this week. So apologies for that. But yeah, take care, everyone. Goodbye and Good Friday. Where's the mute button? Goodbye, everyone.